Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the lair. How's everybody tonight? What's everybody up to? Hey, Tim. How are you doing? Hold on. Alexa, turn on dining room. I swear I'm going to end up going to jail for domestic with that stupid thing. It drives me crazy. Like, I can't. I can't with it. So when I say hi to people, sis, hey, GMK. Fancy meeting you over here. Raven. Papa. Text. Text, you suck at answering texts or looking at your Instagram messages. Did I miss anybody? Tim, how are you, Tim? Happy days. Hey, Mayor Wrench. How are you, darling? How's everybody feeling? Is everybody glad it's the weekend? Okay, Navy Dex. Yeah, I just got off the phone with Wally like 10 minutes before his stream. So I was amused. I amused myself and him, I think. But, hey, I mean, I feel like as long as I've had this channel, people have not yet gotten to know me and my actual personality. And I don't know how to make that clearer to people, but okay. So, Papa, you're all good. So okay, we can all yell at Loki, bad Loki. I'm having an alcoholic beverage. I haven't had any alcohol since the hospitalization with kidney and liver failure. And I got permission from the doctors that I could have like one alcoholic drink, monthly. Tonight's the night. Tonight is the night. Yeah. Tex, I don't know. I'm not so sure about this one. It's like a girly drink, and everyone knows I collect whiskey, but this one's a girly one. I don't know why it was in the fridge. I don't remember. I think I got it when my best friend from college was here. But I saw it and I was like, fuck it. Might as well try this. So. So, what do we want to cover first? Do we want to discuss castle doctrines, stand your ground, why Alec Baldwin is a fucktard? I mean, like, there's a million things we can talk about. Claude, how are you? Oh my God, I have missed you. Where have you been? Oh my God, I thought you dropped off the face of the planet. Claude, where have you been, sir? No, Raven, it is one of these stupid hard seltzers. Like, I figured I would try it because every time I have a party or people over, everyone's like, oh my God, when I ask what they want to drink, so I make sure I have it on hand. And they're always like, oh, a hard seltzer. And like, I just drink whiskey on the rocks. And I saw it and was like, why not? Hey, Raven, if I want moonshine, I live 45 minutes pretty much from the border of West Virginia. I can get me some real moonshine. Although behind me, I do have a jar of moonshine soaked maraschino cherries. So, yeah. I'm sorry, Claude. I miss you. You're fun. Yes, we will cover Stand Your Ground and Castle, Papa. That's all good. That is all good. I am. It's been a day. I just can't with people today. I know I sounded like a valley girl there, but yeah, I still just can't. Mayor, you're waiting for Sassy to get out of work. Claude, you like hearing stupid about Alec Baldwin? Okay, we can do that one. Raven, you've been sober for 20. Congratulations, Raven, and congratulations, Mayor Wrench. I know you've both been sober. Yeah, I've never been a really heavy drinker. When I told the story about getting drunk and puking on a Kennedy when I was in high school, and then when I went away to college, my dad I had an SUV, and you could, like, if you opened the back, there was this little thing under the back deck that you could put your little road hazardy stuff or things in. And my dad used to put alcohol in there for me because he knew that way I wouldn't go buy it illegally. My parents were always real big on if you want to drink, you can drink at home. If your friends want to drink, they can drink here, where we can make sure that no one gets taken advantage of it and nobody's driving. So it lost the allure. But I am a whiskey drinker, and in college there's some pretty epic tales of Loki with way too much whiskey. Yeah, that didn't. There were a few times that didn't go well, but meh. I am lucky if I have like a drink a month anymore. So, okay. Let's talk castle doctrine. Let me do this. Where is my YouTube studio? I'm going to grab my YouTube studio real quick because then I can see your chats and at people. Because reasons. Ooh, hiccups. Because reasons. Gotta love those days. So, let's talk stand our ground. Let me pop this one out. I need to pop that one out so I can see you guys while I talk. Opal, I'm not drunk enough for my imaginary dragon. I'm sorry. I'm not drunk enough that I should be seeing an imaginary dragon. But it's all good. So, okay. Sorry, going through the things. Make sure. Hey, Opal, make sure I say hi to everybody. Okay, so we're going to talk about the castle doctrine. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I am giving you a legal definition of the castle doctrine. This definition that I'm going to give you right now is not, in fact, the castle doctrine in your state. All states have a form of a castle doctrine, right? But it's not the same. So I'm going to give you what the ATF uses as the Claude. We have a castle doctrine and a no duty to retreat. I'll go in the stand your ground. Claude, I'll go into PAs in depth in a minute, but this is the ATF legal definition of a castle doctrine. You need to know your laws for your state. Before you rely on anything that is said tonight, don't. I am not your lawyer. I am not a lawyer. I just work in public safety and OSHA. You need to contact your state police or your sheriff and clarify things, or look them up and read the law if you're not sure. These laws do change. They can change fairly frequently depending on what state you're in. So there's my blanket disclaimer. While I go through castle doctrine, I'm going to go through castle doctrine and stand your ground. Tomorrow evening, the first video about the state of Alabama is going up. And I have gone through all 50 states and their self-defense laws and their firearms regulations specific to that state for all the states. So make sure if you're looking for the information about your specific state, you find my video that is about your state. And make sure you verify that there haven't been any changes since either when I filmed the video or I don't know. Just check. But first and foremost, the castle doctrine. When people talk about a castle doctrine, they're referring to the legal right of a person to defend himself against an intruder in his home or other property, even should the use of deadly force be required. Under legal theory, the homeowner is not required to retreat but may stand his ground to defend himself, his home, or his property. And then we're going to talk about the castle doctrine. Now, this little excerpt in their legal header about not requiring retreat, right? That is not accurate in some states. Some states have taken the federal definition and narrowed it. So we will get there when I talk about specific states and stand your ground a little bit more. But right now we're just going to do castle. And like I said, in that definition, your home or other property. Under the ATF definition, other property means your car. It means your RV. If you are in your car and somebody tries to carjack you and to get in, you are protected by a castle doctrine. If somebody tries to break into your shed, castle doctrine applies, okay? So your car and your home are sacred and your castle, okay? And I see Raven commenting. I lost it. Where did it go? Hold on. See this comment from Raven. That is not true. That is state dependent, and I will get there. So, the definition of the castle doctrine is a legal doctrine that allows a person to use deadly force in protecting his or her home and inhabitants from attack by someone intending to inflict serious bodily harm. So, for you to qualify under the castle doctrine, you don't just have to be scared for your own safety. If you're scared for the safety of somebody else in your house, much like that father several months ago who shot and killed his daughter's ex-boyfriend, who was trying to come into the house. He was scared for her. He used lethal force and it was upheld. Okay? So, under the castle doctrine, when an intruder comes onto a person's property or into his home or business for the purpose of committing a felony or to cause bodily harm to the inhabitants or other persons within, the amount of force that you can use in self-defense varies. Now, that's kind of like a general statement for it, right? If somebody shows up, you're in fear for your life, or you're in fear or worried about bodily harm, you have to look at, is the amount of force you're using proportional? You cannot use disproportionate force for the most part. But again, that benchmark is state dependent, and we'll go over that. The castle doctrine holds that a person in his home, on his property, or in his place of business may in fact use deadly force to protect themselves from the violent attack. So then we get into self-defense law. Like I said, we have a castle doctrine law, a stand your ground law, and a duty to retreat, right? I'm going to briefly touch on them and then I'll go deeper into stand your ground. So if you are stand your ground means a person that is facing violent attack and is in fear of serious bodily injury or being killed may use any amount of force necessary to defend themselves, up to and including deadly force. The purpose of stand your ground is to protect people from criminal prosecution for using force in self-defense. Not all states have stand your ground. In a state that has a stand your ground, rather than requiring the victim, so you, to put forth a self-defense argument at trial, trial's avoided because you have prosecutorial immunity. Stand your ground rights apply regardless where the victim is located at the time of the attack and defense. So, stand your ground does not just have to be in a house. If I am outside or at a park and somebody pulls a weapon, I can stand my ground and use lethal force if need be. And now here's where people keep asking about the duty to retreat. A duty to retreat law requires the person being threatened with bodily harm to retreat from the situation if possible before using deadly force to protect yourself. The purpose for the retreat law is in recognition that any human life, even that of the attacker, is of such value it should be preserved. If doing so can be done by retreating. Even states of duty to retreat laws, however, recognize a person's right to defend themselves if attacked in your own home. So what that's saying is, even if your state does not have a stand your ground law, you still have a castle doctrine protection. Okay. Now let me look at some questions. Raven, no, if the person's running away, it is not all out the window. That is state dependent. Let's see. Michigan doesn't. I'll cover Michigan. Papa, you need to know what the consequences of doing what is right. Learn your state, know what's ahead. Right. Like I said, everything is state dependent. Tim says, remember the intruder's armed by the time the police show up. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They do not have to be armed. And the reason I say absolutely not is because if you do what Tim is suggesting by somehow making them armed by the time the police get there, it can negate your stand your ground or castle doctrine. And there are several cases I can pull that show people did just that. And if they hadn't quote unquote armed the person, they would have been protected with immunity. But because they took that step, it counted as mens rea and they were charged. So let's talk about states that have stand your ground and castle doctrine, right? Stand your ground and castle doctrine states are Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Michigan, Mississippi, Montana, Nevada, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Ohio, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, and West Virginia. These are your duty to retreat states. So in a duty to retreat state, if you can get away, you have to. If they are running away from you, headed out the door, like Raven was talking about, if they're running away, it's out the window, that is only in a duty to retreat state. You can't take force. If, and this one came up not that long ago. I have to find the video of the YouTuber. He is like pounding on the doors, violent struggle ensues, shots are fired. If you're inside your house and the person is banging on your door and not imminently about to make entry, like you don't see them being able to kick in the door or something, you have the duty to retreat, lock the door, go hide in your house, and call 911. You cannot just open the door because they're trying to kick it in and shoot them. if you're in one of the following states. So duty to retreat states are Arkansas, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Iowa, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Missouri, Minnesota, Nebraska, New Jersey, New York, North Dakota, Rhode Island, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. Tim said, I meant if you have to use deadly force, the attacker better be armed. Not true, Tim. They don't need to be armed for you to use deadly force. And I talk about things being proportionate. Let's go back to, hold on. Let me see. I don't see text yet in my backstage, but yeah, Michigan has a stand your ground. I'll go into it. So those are your duty to retreat states. We'll hold off discussing some of the case studies and some of the examples. But Claude says, do those states expect you to have a moat in a castle if you can't stand your ground in your own home? What's going on in JFC? So what you will notice, the majority of the states that I read off are very liberal democratic states generally, for the most part. You can stand your ground in your home, sort of. For example, let's say you live in Delaware. Okay? I'm going to give you two scenarios. Scenario one in Delaware is somebody is outside screaming that they are going to, murder you and your family. They're going to unalive everybody. And they are pounding on the door. They're pounding on a window. They don't break the window, but they're just pounding on it. They are throwing things, and they are issuing horrible threats, right? And you're living in Delaware at the time. You have to call 911 and retreat and stay in your home and lock the door and call 911. They're not inside your castle. In a state like Pennsylvania, that has a very strong stand your ground and a very strong castle doctrine, if you are trying to kick in my front door, if you're pounding on glass, you're on my property trying to make an imminent entry, I can shoot you. Which is not the case in Delaware. Because you're on my property attempting to harm us inside. In Delaware, you have to wait for them to actually breach the threshold, which means they have to be inside your house at that point. Now, if they are in your house in Delaware, you can shoot them under a castle doctrine because you don't have a duty to retreat inside your house if they have broken it. You can't. You've retreated as far as you can. They got that door broken in. Once they're inside your house, you can go ahead and shoot someone. But you had the duty to retreat into your house. Whereas in Pennsylvania, you can get shot in your front yard for the castle doctrine. Doesn't got to be inside the house, and you don't have to clear the threshold. So, and there are some other little things, and we'll cover those, right? And then here we go. Let me pull this up. Where's Tim? There, I lost Tim. Tim, here's. Okay. I was always taught if they're verbally attacking you, you can't just shoot without trying to defuse the situation first, right? Not correct. But let's discuss. We'll use a good scenario. I'm trying to think of what the easiest scenario for this one will be. Yes, state-based quirks are important. That's why I said I have a video for every state. Do not go off this. This is a blanket explanation of the definition of a castle doctrine and a stand your ground. You need to look at the state laws, and I have videos for all 50 states coming. Alabama is going up tomorrow. So, hey, Caroline. So, we're going to take the scenario that I had, or and we'll run it in two different ways. Not how it happened and how it happened. We all know that there was a gentleman pleasuring himself in my backyard in broad daylight when there were children in the house. And he wasn't acting real normal there. He is on my property. I have the right to go outside and hold him at gunpoint. I have the right to stand my ground in my yard and hold him at gunpoint. If I was in a duty to retreat state, I would not have been allowed to go outside and confront him. I would have had to stay in my house, call 911, and wait for police to respond. So I go outside and hold him at gunpoint in Pennsylvania. Can I shoot him? No. But now we're gonna adjust the hypothetical. Instead of Captain Happy rolling over and putting his hands behind his back for the police, he stands up. Hey, Tex. Hey, Tex.
Well, hello.
So,
can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Instead of Captain Happy rolling over, proning out, and getting cuffed, let's say Captain Happy gets up and charges me. I can shoot him. Because Castle Doctrine. And stand my ground. Pennsylvania's got a very strong one. In other states, like I said, you cannot go outside and confront him. But even with a strong castle doctrine, even with the very strong castle doctrine, like Tim says, you can't shoot without trying to defuse it. I cannot just walk outside and shoot him because he's jerking off in the backyard in front of my kids. I can go outside and hold my gunpoint. I can go outside and yell at him, make him wait for police. But if I just walk outside and shoot him, it's disproportionate. Now, if he stands up and comes towards me, that all changes, goes out the window, and I can shoot him. So that's where we're talking proportionate. He doesn't have to have a weapon. He could just stand up and be swinging. Doesn't need to have a weapon, doesn't need to be armed. If he, I'm in fear for my life and my children, and he makes an aggressive move, regardless if he's armed or not, I can shoot him in my state. But no, I can't just, go outside and shoot him because he was in the yard. Now, here's another thing to remember. Don't invite people. Any self-defense claim is rendered moot if there's an invitation. And the example to that is the quintessential, I get into an argument with Navy techs.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I get into an argument with you and I call you. And I say something mean, something hurtful, and text responds with, why don't you come over here and do something about it? I dare you to come over here and try. If I go over there and shoot Tex, he cannot claim castle doctrine or stand your ground. He cannot claim self-defense. You invited and provoked the situation. And that's one of the biggest mistakes I see. Where someone will be like, come here and say that to me. Show up here and fight me. Go ahead, hit me. I dare you. I dare you to hit me. I dare you to pull a gun on me. Guess what? It's no longer going to be self-defense. You can't invite them over. So that's kind of the difference, and the don't invite people over. That being said, let's say I'm making Thanksgiving dinner and Tex comes over and's having dinner with me and everybody. And I've invited Tex over for dinner. And then Tex has one too many drinks. And Tex starts doing something stupid. And I tell him to leave. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I tell him he has to leave. He doesn't leave. Instead of leaving, he turns around. Hey, J. Michael. Instead of leaving, he turns around and threatens me. I can shoot him if I'm scared for my safety. And someone goes, well, how's that different than you said you can't invite it?
Can't invite me for a fight.
Well, you can't invite somebody for a fight, and it's not just you can't invite somebody for a fight. You can revoke the invitation at any time.
Yep.
So as soon as Tex starts acting a fool, and I'm like, you needs to leave, that invitation has been revoked, and the castle doctrine applies again. Tim, so you're trying to say you had a few drinks. Oh, it's all good, Tim. I just try to make things very, very clear because people, especially anti-gun people, like to take things out of context. So that's the basic of what a castle doctrine or a stand your ground is, right? So let's talk about a state-specific stand your ground. Let's go with Pennsylvania, because PA.
Oh, I wonder why. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Shh. So it's Pennsylvania Statute Title 18 PA CSA 505. 505A states that the use of force justifiable for protection of the person. The use of force upon or toward another person is justifiable when an actor believes that such force is immediately necessary for the purpose of protecting himself against the use of unlawful force by such other person on the present occasion. So, justified use of force because in that moment at that time you were scared for your safety. Limitations to that are times when this isn't. So Section B tells you the limitations. The use of force is not justifiable if these conditions exist. So let's look at what makes it not justifiable. You're attempting to resist arrest when the actor knows the person is a peace officer, regardless if the arrest is unlawful. So if the police show up and they say that they're going to arrest you and you know it's not a lawful arrest, or you know they're police, you may not use deadly force and say, hey, they broke into my house, I was scared, castle doctrine.
Yeah.
The actor has been,
I have a question. I have a question about that right fast, if you don't mind.
let me finish the next sentence. And actually, you know, yeah, we can go there then, because the next might answer it, though.
Because of the fact that you dealt and were a member of law enforcement, right? What happens on a no-knock? So let's say, for example, because we've seen this happen a couple of times where these police get these no-knock warrants and they go to the wrong place, right? So if the cops no-knock and bust into my home and I don't have the time to recognize that they are police, I just see men with guns, and I fatally injure one of them before I know or before they can tell me that they're cops, does the castle doctrine apply, especially if it was the wrong address?
That's an it depends. So first and foremost, when we make, people need to understand, there's a whole lot to talk about this, so I'm not picking on you. It is a lot harder to get a no-knock warrant than you think.
Okay.
It's a fairly high bar for a no-knock. Everybody sees like TV and you know, they're going to go into anything on like Law and Order. It is a fairly high bar for a no-knock warrant.
But yeah, because the person has to be deemed so dangerous that even announcing yourself is going to put you in danger, right?
Right. Now, even in a no-knock warrant situation, we have to announce ourselves. So generally, we use a 6-man stack. The first person generally has a battering ram or something. They will swing and blow that door off the hinges, and then they will take a step to the side so everyone can rush past them.
Okay.
As they are blowing that door open, you will hear everybody screaming, "Police, police, police. Down on the ground, put your hands where I can see them. Police. Put your hands, hands in the air, get on the ground, hands where I can see them." And they will repeatedly announce who they are.
Okay.
So on a true no-knock warrant, nobody's like stealthily breaking it. I don't remember what show it was because someone asked me about it. Some TV show showed a situation where it was a quote-unquote no-knock warrant, and the police like picked the lock on the front door.
There's a bunch of I think a funny story. I think it was Castle.
So
yeah.
We don't do that. If you're dangerous enough for a no-knock warrant, you're getting SWAT. We're not picking the lock. And 9 times out of 10, we're showing up at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're asleep. One of the number one things we do with no-knocks is we will show up when we know you're asleep to make it safer for everybody. Because
I'm assuming there's really some surveillance ahead of time to look at
always.
Patterns.
And you do have to have surveillance with a no-knock anyways to make sure. So now you're saying, well, what if it's the wrong apartment? Well, that falls under that clause. Even if the arrest is unlawful. Okay. Use of force is not justifiable to resist an arrest, even if the arrest is unlawful.
Right.
So that's what it is. It would be unlawful because wrong address, right? Does that mean you would have no recourse? No. If you shot that person, the officer, doesn't mean you would not have a self-defense argument. No, but it's a much harder hurdle to get over, right?
Right. Yep.
So, because we announce when we come in. So then another limitation is to resist force used by the occupier or possessor of a property or by another person on his or her behalf, where the actor knows that the person using the force is doing so under a claim of right to protect the property, except that this limitation does not apply if the actor is a public officer acting in the performance of the duties or a person lawfully assisting him. The actor has been unlawfully dispossessed of the property, and the actor believes such force is necessary to protect himself against death. So you cannot use the limitation on it. Is the most common one that falls under this is an eviction. I evict you. I own the house and I evict you. You come back into the house when I'm not there to get stuff. And then I come home and come into the house. You may not use deadly force against me because you have been dispossessed of the property. You cannot claim it's your castle. If that makes any sense. The use of deadly force is not justifiable unless the actor believes such force is necessary to protect himself against death, serious bodily injury, kidnapping, or sexual assault. And here's when you can't use them here. And here was my don't invite people. Okay? It's not justifiable if the actor with the intent of causing death or serious bodily injury provoked the use of force against himself in the same encounter. Or the actor knows he can avoid the necessity of such force with complete safety by retreating, except the actor is not obliged to retreat from the dwelling or place of work unless he was the initial aggressor or is assailed in his place of work. So, like I said, stand your ground is not only in your house. Stand your ground could be in a parking lot. If your state doesn't have stand your ground, so we're going with Pennsylvania, right? If
Yes.
I'm standing outside Target kind of thing, and I know I can safely retreat in, I can't claim anything. If I know I hit the gas on my car and can get away, I can't. Okay? You must have a reasonable presumption and belief that deadly force is immediately necessary to protect yourself against death, serious bodily injury, kidnapping, or rape. Now, there's a presumption against it is the person whom the force is used. If they're a lawful resident of the dwelling, you can't use lethal force and claim castle doctrine. So if Tex moves in here, I can't use castle doctrine and use lethal force against him and then claim castle doctrine because he legally is here.
Yep.
So, and then, the actor who's not engaged in criminal activity, so in this case it would be me, who's not in a legal position, so I have my legal firearm and my, state requirement permits. I have no duty to retreat if I have a right to be where I am attacked in Pennsylvania. No duty to retreat. I have the right to stand my ground if I have the right to be in the place I'm attacked. I'm in the grocery store. I can stand my ground and shoot back at someone that comes in shooting. I don't have to run.
Yep.
Now, also, if the person displays, and this is, I think, what Tim was talking about, you can use deadly force without an issue if they display or otherwise use a firearm or a replica of a firearm or any other weapon, aka a knife or a baton, or they are apparently capable of lethal use. So like a baseball bat. Not technically a lethal weapon, but you can kill someone with a bat. Mm-hmm. Even if it is a toy airsoft gun, if you brandish it, I have the right to use legal force. So then the other big thing with it is the protective force, right? The justification, so this is Pennsylvania, right? The justification afforded by a section extends to the use of confinement as protective force only if the actor takes all reasonable measures to terminate the confinement as soon as he knows he safely can, unless the person confined has been arrested on charge of crime. I can't lock you in the basement for an indeterminate period of time and confine you. I can lock you in the basement and barricade it while I call 911 and get away. But I can't hold you hostage because you broke in. And yes, it's happened. Don't ask. Not to me, but... Okay, so let's answer some questions real quick. As a practical matter, it helps if you can articulate why you feared for your safety. It does help, but they'll talk to the police. If you are involved in a self-defense situation, especially, underline, highlight, bold that word, especially, where there was lethal force or a firearm used, do not say a single word to the police other than, I want a lawyer. You may be right. It may very well be justified self-defense. If you have immunity, get a lawyer. You can tell them, don't, like, you can tell them, I'm not trying to be obstructionist, I'm not trying to cause a problem, but I'm not making any statements without a lawyer.
Yep.
Do not do it. Do not, especially in a self-defense situation, because you're going to say something, and it's going to be something really innocent seeming to you, and it's going to be enough for some gung-ho prosecutor to overturn self-defense. Do not say a word. Officer, here's the gun. It is secured. Let me put my hands behind my back for you. I want a lawyer. And not only do you need to exercise your right to remain silent, you actually have to remain silent, unlike people like Chili. You have the right to remain silent, yeah. So shut up. Once you assert that right, no other words come out of your mouth. Duty to retreat comes from legislature, yeah.
So I have a question about that. So once you say that, right, and they come over, let's say they go ahead and put you in cuffs and stuff. If they ask you for like to identify yourself, do you just say like it's in my wallet?
No, so
Or
you
do you
have to identify
okay,
by
that's what I
law in
thought.
all 50 states. So let's
That's what I
say
thought.
the situation happens, they arrest you, Tex.
Yep.
And first thing they're saying is, what's your name?
My name is
And do you
good
have ID?
citizen.
And you're going to say, my name is James. My wallet's in
Yep.
my back pocket. My driver's license is in there. You must identify. Other than identifying, you invoke your right and wait for a lawyer. But you must identify.
Well, and
That is
technically, they don't have to read me my Miranda rights, right? They can just arrest me and take me. Miranda is only has to be done prior to actual questioning about the event, correct?
Miranda attaches as soon as you're in custody or confinement and cannot freely leave. Miranda attaches. They will almost always Mirandize you when they put you into cuffs if they're arresting you.
Okay.
If
I
they
mean, that
say
makes sense.
if they tell you they're just detaining you, like there was a big street fight and they're detaining everyone while they sort it out, they don't have to
Mhm.
Mirandize you. But
Yeah,
they
'cause it's not an arrest, right?
can't ask you anything. And once you're in custody, they have to Mirandize you before you say anything or before they ask you anything, other than you identifying yourself.
Yeah.
Nothing. But yes. Tim says, you have a question. What happens if the entire property is very well marked for no trespassing, gates locked, and can the police still come onto your property without a warrant? Tim, that depends.
They'd have to have a reason, like a lawful reason.
Right, they can't just like wander on because they're bored. But they don't need a warrant. You live on a big piece of property, you have locked the gate, and generally if it's for bullshit, like your neighbor called in about something, 9 times out of 10 they're going to call you on the phone and ask if they can come talk to you.
Or have you meet them at the gate.
Right. Are there situations we show up? Yeah. So let's say there's a missing child in your area. You have this huge piece of property with a locked gate. The police will walk up to your front door and knock on the door. We're in uniform. They don't have a right for search and seizure without a warrant, but they are allowed to come.
Circumstances.
Yeah, or an exigent circumstance, but they can come onto your property to talk to you. They just can't enter the house unless there's an exigent circumstance.
That falls under the aspect of the Fourth Amendment that also these guys don't understand. It's what's known as a unwarranted or unlawful search and seizure.
Right. But even if it's no trespassing, that doesn't apply to police generally or people in their professional. It applies to police if we're like on our personal time. It doesn't apply in the capacity of official job, in the capacity of our official business. It also matters what the person in question believed was going on. To be honest, someone yelling, "I'm a cop," is not solid identification. Anyone can yell that. We don't yell, "I'm a cop." We will yell, police, I have a warrant, I have a warrant for your arrest, hands in the air. Police, I have a warrant.
Or this is so-and-so police department too, Brad, I've heard.
Yes, we will yell lots of things, not just, "I'm a cop."
I'm a cop.
And then they have to present you the warrant. You have the right to ask to see it. Now, when I say that, I know some idiot like Chili is going to do you can't arrest me until you show me. Wrong. We can detain you and then show you.
Once the warrant's been signed, you're authorized to arrest that person.
Right, but I can secure a scene without showing you the warrant. You have a right to see the warrant. but I can secure you and the scene first. You see many current situations where they should go to court. Eviction, pay the renter, you have no right to be there. Not our property. That's been reality for centuries. I had no idea how convoluted this would get. But it's not really that convoluted. It's essentially PA closes it down, and part of the reason that statute is I evict Tex, and then I go to work, and, you know, I come home, and he's back in the house and claiming it's his castle and trying to use the castle doctrine to shoot me. He's been lawfully evicted.
My invitation has been revoked.
Well, no, but like if you've been evicted, like that's if you've been evicted, like you're a tenant. So as soon as you've been evicted, that's not your place, because what would happen is they would have people that were evicted that would come back.
Yeah, squat.
And then try to, like a squatter, and try to use stand your ground and say, yeah, they were breaking in. Claude Simeon, can I hold you hostage if you ask me to? Sure.
That's consent, bro. It's consent.
Sure. If you know it's an airsoft, you have a hard time excusing it. Fire on an airsoft wielder and being executed. Not true. So, Caroline, I cannot tell you how many guns I have come across in my career where people had a plastic orange tip on it, so it looked like an airsoft. Unless you have uncontroverted and definite proof that you knew for a fact it was an airsoft. Like you bought the airsoft, you wrote your name on it, you showed them it was an airsoft, and then you brandished it. Then you can't shoot them. But just because it has a red tip and looks like an airsoft or an orange tip does not mean that doesn't breach that. That's not enough to get you there.
Right. And the thing is, and I know this is something that would be argued in court, but even if it was an airsoft gun, it doesn't mean that it can't hurt you and or come close to killing you, depending on where they hit you with it. If they hit you in the chest, okay, yeah, I get that. But you take an aerosol to the throat,
well,
eyeball.
And the thing is, they're going to tell you could have held them at gunpoint generally. But it being an airsoft does not, even if it's got the orange tip, because people put them on real ones all the time.
Yeah, no.
Should you say it was self-defense, you're in fear for your life, or not even say that much? Claude Simeon, do not say a word. Listen to me.
Nothing.
Listen to me very, very carefully. The only words that come out of your mouth are, yes, officer, I'm Claude Simeon. Hands behind your back. Do you have identification? Yes, officer. Claude Simeon's driver's license is in his back pocket. Okay. What happened today? I'm sorry, officer. I am not trying to be difficult, but I am going to exert my Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. I will not answer questions without my counsel.
Okay, so I got a question for you on that one, because
literally all you say.
That's kind of what I was getting at earlier, right? Is that so the cop comes up to you, right? They put you under arrest. They handcuff you. Say Miranda automatically kicks in. But the problem is they have to read Miranda. He can't come and ask me what happened today and have it fall under anything you say can and will be used against you, because he has not yet informed me verbally of my Miranda rights, correct?
He has to tell you you're under arrest.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, the reason they read out Miranda is because telling someone they're under arrest is not the same thing as reading them the Miranda rights.
But that's why if you listen to what I said 99% of the time, as soon as those cuffs go on, we Mirandize.
Yeah.
They are not going to ask you anything else until they Mirandize you. If they were to detect, like, let's say they say you're under arrest, they put you in cuffs, put you in the back of the car, and say, so what happened?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That statement would be thrown out and not be allowed to be used, because they asked you a question before Mirandizing you.
Correct me if I'm wrong on this, because I have seen this in a couple of shows, right? They end Miranda with, do you wish to speak with us?
No.
Okay.
Hold on. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Give me 1 second.
I looked up the same codes and stuff for Texas
Right. Okay.
because Texas doesn't
So
have a
here's your
duty free
Miranda
thing at
right.
all.
Ready?
Okay. Hmm.
When we Miranda's you, we say you have the right. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the
Hmm.
right to consult with a lawyer and have that lawyer present during any questioning. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you if you so desire. They will also tell you that even if you choose to speak with us, you may at any time invoke Miranda
Yep.
and invoke
Yep.
your rights. So even if you start talking, you can claim up and stop talking and invoke your rights. We have to. So if I arrest you, put you in the car, I'm like, hey, what happened today, buddy? And I already told you you're under arrest, not free to leave, and you tell me, that can't be used in court. They didn't Mirandize you, so it's
Hmm.
the statement gets thrown out.
Yep.
Hold on.
Is there, so one of the other things that people see in TV shows and movies all the time when it comes to this is that they say that once you've been Mirandized and you ask for a lawyer, then they are to stop talking to you. Is that true?
Yes and no. How persuasive of a person are they is my general answer to that. So here's the thing, and I've had this happen. You arrest someone, you Mirandize them. They say, I'm exercising my Fifth Amendment rights. I want an attorney. They can sit there and start talking to themselves and thinking out loud. They can sit there and say whatever they want.
Okay. Yeah. I've seen that when the cops start talking to each other. Yeah.
That's why I said, not only do you need to invoke your Fifth Amendment right, you need to actually use it and shut up. They're doing it to bait you in. Now, what'll happen is you've invoked the right? And you're in an interrogation room, and someone comes in, I come in and sit down next to the other officer, and we're talking, and you pipe up like you're going to interject or say something. They will stop you every time and say, hey, you invoked your right to remain silent. I'd love to talk to you. If you want to give me your side of the story, I'd love to hear it. But I need you to sign this waiver first because
Yep.
you've already invoked your rights for this discussion to continue without your lawyer. You have to waive it. But yeah, they'll sit there and talk, and a lot of people will feel the need, they want to justify an answer, and so they'll waive Miranda. Okay, hold on. Yeah, Claude, don't say anything. Lawyer. Hold on. Yes, Papa.
And then
Miranda is the
pee
wording
yourself.
standardized? No. It is not at all standardized. The only things that are standardized are these statements. Listen very carefully. You have the right to remain silent. End of statement. If you do say anything, what you say can be used against you in a court of law. End statement. You have the right to consult with a lawyer and have that lawyer present during questioning. End statement. If you can't afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you. End statement. Those are the only 4 things they have to say during Miranda. How they say it, in what order, if they add things, those are the only 4 sentences that have to be in there for it to be valid. So, they'll say, do you want to talk to us? If they read you your Miranda rights and they say, so do you want to talk to us? Your answer should be, let's see if the class was listening. Tex, what should your answer be if I ask you? I Mirandized you, and I say, do you want to speak with me? Tex, let's see if you're listening. What should your answer be? Tex? Did we lose Tex?
Can you hear me now?
Tex? Now I can hear you. I Mirandized you and say, do you want to talk to me?
I invoke
Let's
my
see
Fifth
how.
Amendment, and I want an attorney.
Yep, there you go. All you say right there. That's all we say. You want to talk to? Do you want to talk to me? I invoke my Fifth Amendment rights. Doctor in a hot pursuit will allow trespass onto the property. E.E. Caroline, that would fall under exigent circumstance in most states.
Yep.
Tim, more detail. You own 10 acres. I have an officer come through my gate. The officers just stopped to tell me we could have flooding. The officer that talked to me got only due to the fact that I was armed. However, I didn't unholster your weapon. Yeah, Tim, they have the right to show up on your property and tell you could have flooding.
It's going to be a very different knock. It's going to be a different kind of knock, right?
But not just that, but you're saying you have a fence, no trespass, and they showed up for that reason. If you have a sidearm, you're allowed to have it, and if you reach for it, they will identify immediately, and they'll tell you to put your hands up. They'll tell you why they're there. But in their official capacity, they have the right to come onto your property.
Because that would also be an exigent circumstance, right? Because it's protection of the public if there's a flood possibly coming.
Yeah, so I can't tell you how many people I had to kick out of their houses with hurricanes.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Hey, Captain Dan, you're not staying in your house. Because then I got to come get your ass when it floods. Out. Holding someone at gunpoint automatically implies a threat of death, injury if the person fails to comply. E.E. Caroline, that is true. And you are allowed to do that. If you are in fear for your safety, you may hold them at gunpoint. But understand, if you pull your gun and hold them at gunpoint and they move, you have to shoot. If you hold them at gunpoint and they start walking around and you're just standing there holding your gun still, and then obviously you're not scared for your safety, because the minute they didn't comply with what you're doing, you would pull the trigger. And it could fall under brandishing. Hey, only. I said I need to pee. How will that be used against me? Papa, you never know what the police officers are into. I don't know.
You can pee, but we have the right to watch. What? No. What?
Hey, Scotto, how are you, darling? Yeah. So there is the overview of what a castle doctrine is and what stand your ground is. So stand your ground states it does not just apply to your house. It can apply to being out in public. Castle doctrine, don't enter my home. Duty to retreat, I don't have it in my state. But if your state has it, you must retreat.
No, we don't have it in ours either. They got rid of it. They had it, and then they started kind of etching it back and finally got rid of it completely.
Right. And like I said, anything I've said tonight, guys, do not take as law. Do not take as legal advice. Do not take it as the gun laws, because those are just the general overview laws. I have a video, like I said, Alabama comes out tomorrow. I have a video with all of the important gun laws, what kind of carry you can have, if there's a gun restriction, and where your state is on stand your ground versus castle versus duty to retreat. I have one for every state because it is state dependent. Even if you watch my video on your state, it is up to you to verify the information. Things can change. So you need to verify. But that answer people's questions on stand your ground and castle doctrine?
You?
Scotto, you are here, and I am here and fabulous. I adore you.
Yes, Raven. Yes, I agree.
Raven, the meat gazers.
Yeah, pecker checkers. Well, that was the corpsman, but yeah.
Why? Jay told one guy to rub his shoulder. He couldn't pee unless they did it, and the dude actually did it.
Oh, I had a guy one time. God damn, it was like.
But he did it. The dude literally just put his hand up. It's like rubbing his one shoulder. I'm like, what's wrong with you?
There's a lot wrong with this. I'm just saying, but no, I had a guy one time. He was an old first class, and I was like a newly, because only certain ranks can go watch people pee, right? And so I was like a newly for second class. This is back in like 05. And I had this brand. I was doing it was our turn, right, to go fucking whiz quiz or watch the whiz quiz. And so
Whiz
I
quiz
had this,
day. Did you
yeah, I
study?
had this first class, this old first class checking in. This motherfucker, before pissing into the thing, and if I'd have known better because I was brand new at this, I would have told him, no, you can't do this. He took a fucking shit before peeing in the cup.
Nice.
And I was like, what the? This is the first time I was ever, fucking the winger check thing. And I was just like, oh, I don't want to do this ever again.
Papa says, might be awkward, but if and when someone's shooting your windows out, what is the legal take on returning fire? Absolutely. As soon as somebody fires a weapon at you, you have a reason to fear imminent danger or death and can fire back if they shoot at you. You can always return fire.
We actually had a
Hold
case
on.
in. Okay.
Give me 1 second.
Yes, ma'am.
Tim says the officer got angry and threatened to arrest me because of his arm. I told him I didn't know I was on the property until he came out of the barn. So Tim, sometimes people perceive that we're angry when we're not actually angry. It is just a hypervigilance, right? Because he's not expecting to come onto your property and whatever, but you didn't draw it. And even if you did draw it, as soon as he identifies himself, if you put it away, there's nothing. They may get angry. They may threaten to arrest you. They can't do jack shit. It would be thrown out. I can tell you with 100% certainty in the situation you're giving me and the facts that I have right now, no one's prosecuting them. That's a no. That's null pros right there. They're going to decline it. They're going to be like, you showed up on his property and startled him and he pulled a gun on you. Did he shoot you? No. Did he put it away as soon as you identified yourself? Yes. Okay, well then you're good. So, but yeah, I mean, don't be a dick about it, but don't be a dick when you're dealing with the cops, but like, no, don't talk. Don't say anything. There's nothing you say that's going to help you.
Going to what Papa was asking, just a second or two ago, we had a case in San Antonio, about 10, 15 years ago, and it had to do with, it was a tattoo shop owner, right? And a homeless guy had took a brick, smashed the brick through his window, and the tattoo guy was standing, because he had one of those big front windows, right? And he was standing there in his shop, and the guy did this, and the shop owner turned around and put one in between his eyes, right?
Okay.
And that was even deemed self-defense because
it is. It's Castle Doctrine applies to your place of business.
Yep.
Castle Doctrine applies to place of business. And the only other thing that I will clarify too is it isn't just you that needs to be scared. So, like that dad that shot the ex, he was in fear for his daughter's life.
Yep.
When I had the dude jerking off in my backyard, had he even looked in Micro's direction or taken a step towards her, or I'd have shot him. And it's justified because you're in fear for the imminent safety of somebody else. It doesn't have to be your child. If we're out at a bar and, someone pulls a gun on text and I shoot the guy, it's self-defense because I'm protecting him.
Yeah.
When he's in a situation that he can't. Oh my God, Papa, is Jung okay? Papa, is Jung okay? And where do I need to, what? Call me. Papa, call my phone as soon as you talk to Jung. So, there you go. Castle Doctrine overview. Stand your ground overview. Yay. Okay, Papa, call. But there was your hourly interview, the overview of it. I'm going to say goodnight, guys. I'm going to wait for Papa to call. Let's see how Jung is. And I will be back tomorrow with a video and the state of Alabama's gun laws. Love y'all. Talk to y'all tomorrow. Bye.
See y'all later.